I'll always remember this particular evening at the pizza shop where I was employed. We were about to close, and I was preparing to leave when suddenly the phone rang. I was the only one manning the counter that evening, so I had to handle the calls. When I answered, there was nothing but silence on the other end, so I decided to hang up. About a minute later, the phone rang again, and once more, I picked up to silence. Just as I was about to hang up again, I heard the faint, chilling voice of an elderly woman requesting a regular pizza delivery. Although I was frustrated inside, I remained courteous on the call. I really wanted to finish my shift and head home. I informed my boss about the delivery request, and he instructed me to handle it. Initially, I was annoyed, but then I thought about the potential tip, as older customers usually tipped well. I noted down the address and assured her that the pizza would arrive shortly, but she had already ended the call. I found her abrupt hang-up a bit rude, but I brushed it off and relayed the order to the chef. My boss told me I could go home after this delivery since the shop would be closed. A little before 10 o'clock, I got into my car, entered the address into my GPS, and started driving. The destination was 7 miles away, leading me to a quiet part of town. Upon arrival, I noticed a small single-story house on a very quiet and deserted street. I grabbed the pizza and walked up to the door, ringing the doorbell, but there were no lights on inside the house. I hoped I had the correct address and rang the doorbell again, but still, there was no response. Just as I was about to leave, I turned my head and saw someone standing at the window. I was startled and took a step back, but eventually I moved closer to the window to see who it was. It was an elderly woman, likely in her late 70s, just staring at me with a blank look. I shouted through the glass that I had her pizza, but she didn't react, so I repeated myself louder. Suddenly, a wide smile spread across her face, but it wasn't a pleasant or genuine one. It sent shivers down my spine. I still vividly remember that exact expression she made through the window. Deciding I had seen enough, I quickly returned to my car and placed the pizza on the passenger seat. I felt the need to inform my boss about this, so I sent him a quick text and started my car, eager to leave. As I looked to my right one last time, I saw the woman standing right outside my passenger side window, giving me the same eerie stare as before. I immediately put my car in drive and sped off down the street without looking back. My boss never assigned me to another late night delivery after that. This incident happened 4 years ago when I was still in high school. I was instructed to make my final delivery of the shift. I got into my car, a 1999 Camry, perfect for delivering pizzas, and entered the address into my phone's GPS. Living upstate in the countryside meant that all pizza deliveries involved Long's GPS. Living upstate in the countryside meant that all pizza deliveries involved long drives. I recall the sun was beginning to set, so it was probably around 7 o'clock. After about 15 minutes of driving through the forest and dirt roads, my GPS indicated that I had arrived at the destination. It was an old small cottage lake house, almost entirely made of wood, situated all by itself in the middle of the forest. The lawn was completely overgrown, with grass almost reaching knee height, but I was used to this kind of setting, so I didn't think much of it. I took the pizza to the front door, but there was no door, so I knocked loudly. Within 10 seconds, I heard the sound of footsteps approaching the door from inside the house. The footsteps reached the door and then stopped. I started to feel uneasy, sensing that I was being watched. That's when I noticed a peephole in the door. "It's the pizza guy," I called out. I heard a low, harsh voice from the other side of the door telling me to bring the pizza around to the back. I didn't like the idea of going back there. Something didn't seem right. "Are you sure, sir?" I called out, but he didn't answer my question. The sound of footsteps didn't move away from the door, so I had the feeling he was still watching me. I almost found myself walking back to my car, but I decided I didn't want any trouble with my boss. The last time I brought a pizza back, he gave me a hard time. So, reluctantly, I walked through the uncut grass and around the small house to the back. I remember there was a shed and a little patio back there. On the patio, there was a table with 4 chairs surrounding it. In one of the chairs, facing away from me, I saw the head of somebody sitting in the seat. I began walking over and said, "Excuse me," but the person didn't even move an inch. "Excuse me," I said again louder. Then, from behind me, I heard, "Over here." I turned around to see a man poking his head out from the corner of the house, looking at me with a crazed smile. "Come over here. I want to show you something," he said. I freaked out, turned around, and ran around the house in the opposite direction, back to my car, for some reason still holding the pizza. I got in my car, started it, and drove away from there. On my way back to the pizzeria, I pulled over to the side of the road and called the police. Eventually, I was informed that there was no sign of anybody having been in that house for a long time. I quit my delivery job a few days after that. I have no idea what would have happened to me had I gone up to that man, but to this day, I still wish I had just turned my head to see who or what was sitting in that patio chair. During a particular late-night shift at this job, I lived in the Poconos, a very rural area. Often, I found myself driving down roads surrounded by nothing but trees, just like on this night. However, this time it was dark and foggy. Driving down a shortcut to town that I had taken many times before, I slammed on the brakes when I saw somebody jump out from the bushes onto the road. The sickening bump and thump from the front of the car confirmed that I had hit the person. I put my hand to my forehead, cursing to myself in disbelief. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I had just hit a person. I got out of my car to check if they were okay. It was a man wearing a black hoodie with the hood up, lying motionless by my car tire. I had no idea what to do at this point and started panicking. Why was this guy in the middle of nowhere? Why did he jump in front of my car? Then things got even stranger. I could hear a scream for help, coming from the woods to the left of me. Someone was in trouble. I looked at the man I had hit with my car. He was still on the ground, motionless. I thought it would be okay to leave him for just a minute to go into the woods to check on the scream. I moved in the direction I had heard the scream, originally hoping to hear another, but there was just total silence except for the sounds of night creatures. "Where are you?" I yelled out. It was at that moment I heard the sound of a foot crushing the leaves on the ground. I turned in the direction of the sound, and even in the dark and foggy weather, I could still make out the figure of somebody hiding behind a tree opposite me. I ran as fast as I could back to my car, looking back constantly to make sure I wasn't being followed. When I got back to my car, the man I had hit was gone. I didn't stick around to wonder where he went. I just got back in my car and proceeded. Down the road. My heart was racing the entire drive, but I still ended up delivering the pizza. I got to the house, and when I rang the bell, a middle-aged woman answered. After paying, I noticed that her eyes focused on something behind me. And then she asked, "They let you guys have delivery partners now?" I was confused and asked her what she meant. She told me, "You got someone with you in your car." I felt a pain in my stomach as I turned and saw somebody sitting in the backseat of my car. I called the cops using the woman's phone, and they arrived shortly after, but the person in the backseat of my car was already gone. The scariest thing about this whole story is that the police found a blood-stained knife on the floor of my car where the man had been hiding. This memory still haunts me every day, and I can genuinely tell you it's painfully scary just to imagine how things could have turned out if I hadn't made the delivery.